Hello, my name is Tobias Heiler and I'm one of the founders of BrainBoost. In this webinar, we will show you how you can use our questionnaires integrated in the BrainAssistant. You can use them for your initial consultation, before a training or after a training. We will already deliver integrated questionnaires as a template, but you can also use and create your own questionnaires. Have fun using them.
So welcome to the webinar. First of all, we have an announcement. We're constantly connecting new hardware devices. And as you can see in the bottom right, we managed to connect a new device by BrainBit. It's called Dragon EEG. It's with the orange D. So try to build it as good as possible. And if you know hardware manufacturers and you say it would be kind of cool to connect those, just feel free to reach out to us and then we will try to connect those. Not always that easy, but we're trying. Okay. So today, questionnaires in the BrainAssistant. Yes, some people might have wondered why there are no questionnaires. Some might have heard from me. We're working on that, and today is the day. So first of all, our initial consultations, I talked about this in prior webinars already. Our initial consultations usually work the following way. We work with some questionnaires. They can be client-specific, symptom-based. We can talk about training goals. We take notes about anamnesis. Why are you here? What are your training goals? We can use templates for that. And then, of course, there's a big recording using flows and then generating nice, sweet reports. We can do training right away after the recording to show the client how neurofeedback works. And then we sometimes give a first analysis, an outview, and write an email. And today we'll specifically talk about a feature, meaning what happens before the EEG measurement. So what happens before we connect the device and before we then get ready to record some EEG data for a nicely looking report. And you see here, there are two features I want to show you in the BrainAssistant, but specifically the questionnaires feature. So I would say, let's talk about questionnaires and get right to it. So I'm going to share my screen here. And the first thing you should notice when I open my BrainAssistant, yes, in the top right. For you, not yet, but in a couple of days, there will be an update available. So if you see this button, the next time you open your BrainAssistant, please do so. You will get a nice, sweet feature. So as I said before, whenever a client walks into our office, we start taking some notes. And here we see some EEG recordings already because I'm using a demonstration anonymous client. So usually this is completely empty. On the left side, there you can take notes. So notes, hello, how are you? This is of course helpful if you want to learn more about a client. I talked about templates. So with this small plus icon, the blue plus icon, if I click on this, you can use text modules. These are templates. And you see, I have quite a lot of them because you can create your own. So just press add template and then write down something. For example, here, use this text module. And then we have some reasons for visit, medication, sleep, resources, etc. So this would be open text. I always use that. So I know exactly, okay, what did the client tell me? And maybe the next time they say, I want to add something, or maybe have I told you this or that? This is free text. And now we come to and you see here, you maybe spotted it already. We come to questionnaires. And the feature, this is going to pop up once you do the update. As I said, the update will be available on your computer the next couple of days. Questionnaires means let's answer a new one. So whenever you see blue buttons, be brave, click them. And it's a new one. Now you see a selection. I know some of them are in German, Anfang einer Sitzung, end of the session. So German and English mixed. I will come to that part. Let's say we want an assessment questionnaire. Okay, you will get an assessment questionnaire. So a template, predefined questionnaire. And all you got to do is say select. So what we see now is we selected a questionnaire. We see the date when it was created, and it was created for John Child. You see John Child, and it's not filled in yet. So what we can do is we can press view. So when I press view, this now open on my screen. I have two screens. We now see a questionnaire. And how you can do this is you have a second screen connected to your computer, right? Because you're doing neurofeedback with your client. So you can just turn this on, let your client have a seat, and drag this over and maybe even go full screen. Of course, also you can just read this out to your client, so you don't have to show this on your monitor. Our assessment questionnaire is, and you can just read through this, it says answers from 1 does not apply at all to 5 applies strongly. And this is clustered into 3 categories: focus and attention. And if we scroll down, we have 5 questions and 3 pages. So for you, we have a questionnaire that consists of 15 questions. It's always a balance. It shouldn't be too long. It shouldn't be too short to keep it short and simple. But of course, we also want to gather some information. Now, I can carry out an activity for as long as planned without losing motivation. As you might, so you can read this out and say from 1 to 5. As you might think, 1 is not very focused and barely attention, and 5 is super good attention. Now I'm going through these questions as I'm a person that has some focus problems. I find it easy to block out external distractions and concentrate on my current task, also 1. So I'm not going through all these individual questions. You can read them by yourself later once it's available. So let's say I'm always in a 1 or 2 area, okay? Next. The second part of the questionnaire is about regeneration and relaxation. I can relax quickly, both mentally and physically. Let's say, yes, I'm a totally relaxed person, so let's press 5. And then I can quickly abandon negative thoughts. Oh yeah, sure I can. So 5. I can fall asleep as well as sleep through the night. Sure. So let's be a very relaxed person here. I'm getting to my point in a second. And next, creativity and problem solving. So let's say in this category, I'm always here in the middle. So let's always say, yeah, I don't know, whatever, just press 3. So that's it. At the end, once you're finished with the questionnaire, you can press send. Send means, oh, it closed, it says saved. And here you say filled in and it's green. And if you pay attention, this wasn't there before. It is a text block. So first of all, what is very important, we press save note. Now let's get back to the client and check out our notes. You see here now we have notes, right? Before the EG recording, we can also take notes, so we have notes. This shouldn't be new if you used to work with the BrainAssistant. And now we see questionnaires, assessment questionnaire, and hey, how cool is that? We see indications of deficits in the area of focus and attention. Training in this area seems useful. If you remember, in the category focus and attention, there were 5 questions. I always answered between 1 and 2, so rather weak considering focus and attention. So the questionnaires automatically spits out, hey, this person, it seems like a training in this area of attention and focus seems useful. Then remember, I was super relaxed. I always pressed 4 or 5. The area of regeneration and relaxation appears to be well developed. Nice. And training opportunities in the area of creativity and problem solving. Why? I always pressed 3, so there are kind of opportunities. It's not highly useful or recommended, but it's also not that you're a very creative problem-solving person. So our, I would say, philosophy or idea of questionnaires is you have numbers 1 to 5. But you know, if you say, oh, at focus you had a 4.3, this seems maybe good, and it's also sometimes very valid to have some numbers. These are very technical, these are nice. But also our questionnaire is meant for you, if you ask some questions, also for you to have at a first glance, an interpretation maybe, or a questionnaire that speaks to you and phrases in 1 or 2 sentences. What should I tell the client? What about the focus? What about the regeneration, relaxation, etc.? This is especially meant to be not too medical, okay? Because I know some people say, where does it say ADD and where does it say depression? This is a first assessment, 15 questions questionnaire. So you have directly, once the client answers it, you have directly within one press of a save button, you have already some interpretation of the question, or at least a sentence to it. If you feel like, oh my, wait, I pressed something wrong, you can always press view. Then it opens on my computer screen, and then change the answers if you want to. So this is also not a problem. If you feel like you don't need that, of course, you could just delete it. Now, there are quite a lot of people that told, yesterday was the German webinar, and they said, yeah, this is sweet, but I need more questionnaires, or I have my own ideas, I have my own questions. Yes, let's find out if we can maybe create our own questionnaire. For that, all you have to do is here, go to Tools. So people that watch my latest webinars know, oh, in Tools, there are quite nice things going on. And here we go, questionnaires, and we see 6 questionnaires. We see German and English questionnaires. So yes, maybe we'll filter this a little bit. Or what you can also do, if you see, oh, these are English ones, the rest is German or the language you don't understand. And here's assessment questionnaire. You can always rename them, edit them. First, let's say, and copy is duplicate. Let's say assessment questionnaire. Copy. Now it says duplicate. So whenever you want to maybe goof around a little bit or check questionnaires out, and without destroying them, let's call it this way, you can always copy them and then go to edit. If you feel like, oh my God, I copied it twice, you can always also say deactivate. So you clear this up a little bit and say show deactivated, then it will pop up. If you press edit, you will end up here in the questionnaire, and this might look a little complicated, but it actually is not. So let's check out what the questionnaire is capable of. And for that, I would say, let's use the create button. So when you press create, you will end up here in a completely blank questionnaire. And it's not too hard. What does a questionnaire need? We have a title. Then we have a description, right? Of course, we want to spell it correctly. And the description is just for you internally. And of course, we have pages. Remember, we had focus and attention was 1 page. Then here, add page. Then we had relaxation, regeneration. And then we had another page. Of course, if you want, you can also just have 1 page with 100 questions. It's up to you. Depends how you want to structure it. So let's say this is page 1. And now these, I hope, are pretty much self-explanatory, but let's go through them. We have single choice questions. So this is, as you can see here, single choice. So we have the question 1. And now we need answers. So with a plus sign, you can just say option 1 is maybe from 1 to 3. So 1, then 2, and 3. The other question was from 1 to 5. So you can go infinite number, whatever you want. I will come to this 1, 2, 3. I will explain this in a second, but these are points you can give to questions. So put weight on the questions. It makes sense in a second. Of course, we can have multiple question, right? So this is a question multiple. So here you can also do the same. Let's say A, F, doesn't matter. I'm just saying different things. Okay, so multiple choice. Then we have text. So you can just say also, how are you? Of course, questions have question marks. So how are you? And then you will have a text field where you can put in whatever you want to write in. Also possible. Then we can ask birthday, right? So we have date we can ask for. Then we have numbers. Numbers are also pretty interesting. So we can say from 2. So we say from 1 to 10. I will show you how it works. And then we have a drop-down menus. So drop-down is the single choice function basically. So the Likert scale from 1 to 3, for example. So we say single and it's drop-down. And then plus option 1 is also 1, 2, 3, and 4. Why not? I will come to these points in a second. You can change them, of course. And those are all the functions we need. Let's say save changes. We see title, description. This is what I just wrote, right? And let's answer some. So let's take notes and say question, add new, and questionnaire, answer new, and title. This is the one we just created. Select. Now we need to press view and voila. Question 1 was single choice, so this is what we just saw, but these are our custom questions. Multiple choice, you see these are like a square because we can answer multiple ones. How are you? These are the text question. So hello, I am fine. So you can write whatever you want. Then birthday, so this was the year at the date question. So of course you can also just select yes, I wanna be done with my master's in February 2027. Then numbers, remember, from 2, minimum, maximum. You can either here press 1, 2, 3, etc. And the end was 10, right? When I keep clicking, nothing happens. Or you can just type in 5, for example. Or if you say, you know, how good is your sleep from 1 to whatever, and he says 20, but it's just from 1 to 10, then it jumps to the highest number. And then single choice, but the drop down function might also make sense. I think this can make sense if you want to keep it a little shorter, right? Because they take space. If you show it to a client, I think this is nicer because then you kind of have the view, am I in the middle? Am I in the beginning? Here, drop down, maybe, yeah, it's also fine. It's, I think, whatever you prefer. And then you can press send, and then it's saved. Let's go back to tools. Hopefully this function is clear. So help yourself. Now, as I said, and let's go to duplicate of assessment questionnaire, edit. As I said, these numbers, they give points. Now, what is the idea? The idea is we have calculations. Don't worry, it's not too complicated. Let's go on calculations. And we now see questions. And remember, these are the questions that were in the focus and attention block. And then we had regeneration, and then we had creativity. And what we do is now, this is, you can put weight on questions. So should they count double or all equally? So these are all equally counted. And if I now go down, we see a text. Remember, this might sound familiar. Indications of deficits in the area of focus and attention. Training in this area seems useful. If you remember, this is what popped up. And we can now say, for the category that I just created here, so we could create a new one, but I mean, these make sense. We have 3 pages and just go with the categories for that. So I can say focus and attention. Let's count these 5 questions, equally weight. And if they're greater than 4, so between 4, sum, so you add them, and less than 11, create this text block. If they're between greater than 10, the sum, so you count all of them together, between 10 and 20, then you have this text block. This is what happened when I clicked through them. So every question has an amount of points you give, and if you add them together, then a certain text should appear. So sometimes you want to not confuse the client, but sometimes it's not always from 1 to 10 or 1 to 5, and 1 is the worst and 10 is the best, or 5 is the best. Sometimes you want to turn it around a little bit to not confuse them, but to make them answer honestly. And then, of course, you need to pay attention that maybe here you start with 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, because you kind of want to weigh the questions if you put some calculations behind it. Of course, you can also use average values. Sounds maybe a little confusing, but you can just use ours, duplicate it, and then play around a little bit. This way, you can basically train or put rules behind a questionnaire to pop out automatic answers, or give an overview what the client, maybe what you can tell them. So maybe if you run a center and you build a questionnaire and you have 3, 4, 5 colleagues, and then you can also say, just do this questionnaire, and it will automatically say, do this or that. So this is a pretty cool function that you can work with, and once you play around with it a little bit, it makes total sense, trust me. Now, as we saw, and this is here, these are these text blocks that just popped out. So hopefully this makes sense. You can play around with it. Yesterday I had a question, do I see the answers? You can just press more, and it will say focus and attention had a sum of 7 out of 25 possible points. These are the points, you know, you can write down, and the average was 1.4 out of 5. So you see, you could also just place the rules, the calculations based on an average value. So this is up to you. Now, also, if you remember correctly, there are more than just the assessment questionnaires. And there are, for example, end of a session, start of a session. So what we do here, when you start a session, training session, then you select protocol, etc. Before you start, you could also say, okay, I can write a comment, right? You're used to that. But I can also here use questionnaires, answer a new one. And then we have at the start of a session questionnaire, select, view. And we have questionnaires. They shouldn't be too long. I mean, you can always do the assessment questionnaire, but these are 3 simple questions. How are you feeling today? How's your mood? 1 to 10. Well, today I'm feeling super great. How capable do you rate yourself today? So your motivation. Today I can do a 7. And then how would you rate the severity of the main symptoms? So sleep problems. If I have strong sleeping problems, then it would be a 10. So here it's kind of the other way around. A low number means I'm doing fine. A high number says I'm not so good. So I say I'm in the middle. Send. So I will explain why this might make sense. And once you finish the training, don't press finish and save session. You can also say answer new and say end of the session. And then we have a questionnaire end of the session. How are you feeling now? Now I'm a 9. How satisfied are you with your performance today? No, not really. I didn't try. And how strenuous did you find the training? Well, it was a lot of effort. So a 9. Let's press send. Of course, you don't have to use those. We do. Why? So let's go back to my slides. We can track progress. Example 1, focus and attention, just, in categories, for example. This would be if I only ask all 5 sessions or 10 sessions. Then we will have a graph that is rather simple looking, but it can also show us a plateau we are on. So this could be if you always use the assessment questionnaire, maybe just all 5 sessions. If we keep asking, for example, before and after training, so regularly, every single session questions, but not too long. If the questions are too long, then people might get, bored, or you forget about it because it takes time. Then we might have a very fine, thin scale and see, you see overall there's some improvement. So you can track progress either with, doing huge questionnaires, focus and concentration. For example, take a look at this. Or you can have those short questionnaires, just 3 answers before and after the training. And this gives you also the possibility to analyze training progress, not just in EEG data, there's a webinar on it, but also by answering questions. So the questionnaire we give to you has 3 categories, not too medical. So, you're good. It's just shallow, not shallow, but it's simple questions that I think everybody's able to answer. But of course, create your own. Here, it's not too hard. You just give it a title, a page, and then you add questions to it. Calculations, here, also not too hard. Just click through a little bit, get inspired by the one you have. Trust me, it makes sense and it's a lot of fun. And a lot of, many people I spoke to or had supervisions with mentoring hours, they already know how, or they already work with questionnaires. So I think this is not completely new to most people here in this call or watching this webinar. So it's pretty cool to play around a little bit with your own questionnaires. What does it mean for your questionnaires? And I think one important part, yes, this is not an error. It's meant to be smaller. It belongs to report. We have a nice, cool brain report or auto report, and the auto report covers EEG parameters. It covers cognitive tests, as you know, the CPT test, the Stroop test. You can even add other tests to it. And now we can even add questionnaires. There will be a new template coming, so I gotta wait a few weeks. So we don't want to blow this report up without any reason, but I think it is very nice to see the whole picture of something. Sometimes just the EEG or the EEG itself makes total sense to take a look at this and see, prefrontal cortex, theta, alpha, whatever, but sometimes not too understandable. So a cognitive test like reaction time, Stroop test, commission error, omission error, this makes also sense and gives you a different view, a different perspective on a cognition or a focus level or calmness level. And now what we do with adding questionnaires, you have another tool you can, of course you don't have to, but another tool you can use to also track progress, but not just tracking progress, also just assessing. So how are you today? You come to me the first time and let's just check out how you feel and how you answer those questions and see. So this becomes this is a very active part, the cognitive test. This is, I just let it happen, eyes open, eyes closed. And this is, I would say, like an interview situation. So you see the report grows and grows. And of course, you get the assessment questionnaire with 15 questions and then the before and after training questionnaire. So I think your homework will, of course, be to create your own questionnaires, right? Since the German webinar yesterday, I already received some emails with ideas, so this is very cool. So you can do the questions prior and after each session. It can also be a questionnaire with one simple question, and you then track it with numbers. So it's also cool to create graphs afterwards. We give you templates, of course, and questionnaires pop out recommendations, as you saw before when I answered the questionnaires. And I'm also excited to hear about your recommendations for your questionnaires based on these calculations and rules. So hopefully you will enjoy using these questionnaires, the questionnaire tool. Yeah, I hope this wasn't too fast, not too much input, but now there's a big, well, first of all, there's an update available the next couple of days. Please be patient. And once you see it, it will have the questionnaires and maybe some other minor improvements. So just do the update, please. And now the question of the day is also, what is the next webinar going to be about? And the next webinar is going to be a very cool topic. It's about cognitive tests 2.0 and custom protocols 2.0. So sorry, first of all, there will not be new cognitive tests. So it's going to stay, you're going to have to deal with the 5 cognitive tests we have. Hopefully they're enough for you. But we got quite some nice feedback on the questionnaire, as on the cognitive tests. And next time I will show you how you can customize these cognitive tests a little bit, because some people say it's too short, it's too long. So it's going to be a very cool feature that I think will improve also your workflow using the cognitive tests quite a lot. And also protocols. It's very nice feedback we get. The more people create their own protocols, the more, of course, demands they have and want to build some fancy features within the protocols. So here we will also show you with our upgraded version how to use those custom protocol features that we will implement. So hopefully you will be there in May 15th. So looking forward to see you all there. So see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.